Hello, everybody. Welcome back to How Come. This episode is so great. It's with Alison Leiby. She is a comedian and writer. She was a staff writer for Broad City and The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She has a one-woman show off Broadway called Oh God, a show about abortion. She also wrote for The Opposition with Jordan Klepper, The President Show, and Alana Glazer's special, The Planet is Burning. Today, we're talking about her new book, I'm a Lot. And we're talking about abortion and politics and being single and when cheating ends up working out and much, much more. I had a blast doing this episode, and I think you're going to have a blast listening to it. Enjoy.
How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
I'm so excited for this episode. Welcome, Allison.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, thank you for being here. So I've just finished your book. It's called I'm a Lot. And I know you mentioned the Meredith Brooks song in it, but I just was looking at the table of contents and I wanted to be like, I'm not dead, only child, I'm a jock, had abortions.
I'm going to have to do some kind of parody cover of that song with the title of the essays in this book and somehow release it on, I don't know, TikTok. Kill me.
Something. Well, maybe not anymore.
Yeah, I know. I deleted it.
We'll see. So it's essentially like a memoir,
Yeah.
but it is, and it's all about you.
Yes.
But in being all about you, it is extremely relatable. Like the first chapter starts with being like, I think about myself a lot. And I was like, likewise. And then I found myself thinking about myself while reading about yourself.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so like, that was kind of the intention, but I was just like, this is just going to come off as like me. But it's meant to be like, you know, this is me. And then like also you.
And also you. Yeah. Like it's very interesting when you're like, I'm going to focus on stuff that's literally happened to me. And then through somebody else's eyes, it's like, oh, actually, this is like really helpful and relatable and great. So
yeah. Oh, thank you. I really, that means a lot to hear. My friend read it and she was like, oh, we've had wildly different lives in like so many ways, but I still found this like extremely relatable. And I was like, okay, good. That's like when I read a memoir and essays like this, I'm always like, you know, trying like, you know, that's always what you want to feel is like, oh, I actually can't relate like experientially to any of these things, but I like relate to it existentially.
But I relate to the emotions and also the fact that the experiences are so different and that the emotions are still the same. It kind of really trips you up.
Yeah.
Because like, I feel like a lot of the book is, or not a lot of the book, but a lot of creatives, it's like, look how fucking unique I am. And then when you get to like the core of how unique you are, it actually shows how like relatable you are.
Yeah. How
to like
the
a wide
same
audience.
We all can be
Yeah.
when like boiled down to like, you know, this happened to me and I felt like this. And it's like, okay, well, that exact thing didn't happen to me, but something like that happened to me. And I also felt like this. And I think that's like where, that's what I love about this genre. And I was kind of excited to try and capture was just like, here's a bunch of stories. Like most people won't be like, oh, I was a rower at Cornell and then had spine surgery, but like
back surgery. Yeah.
Like, you know, and then almost died. And
then got
Hopkins.
a blood clot and didn't sue Yaz. Why?
I know.
I don't know.
I was part of the class action, but they like rejected my involvement at one point, and I was like, whatever. I kind of was just like,
really
I
annoying.
can't like relive. I can't like live in this for this long. I need to just like move on, and unless they're going to give me millions and millions of dollars, which I don't think they were, then it seemed like useless. But
I think about that with like Billy Joel when his manager stole like $90 million from him, and he was like, I could either like sue this man, and this could be a very, very long time, or I could just go on tour again and make it back.
Yeah, right. And it's like,
and he did the second one.
And it's like, that's, I don't know, keeping your peace.
Okay, so I'm just going to read the table of contents so people know maybe what they're in for, and then we'll talk about the ones that, you know, most closely align with this podcast. So it's I'm Not Dead, I'm an only child. I'm a jock. I had an abortion. I'm a Loehmann's insider. I'm unemployed. I'm political. I'm in pain. I'm too online. I'm single. I don't have a best friend. I'm a Bravoholic. I'm child free, and I'm okay. Put 10 fingers so down if you are also these things.
It's crazy. I like never think about like like even just like when I read the table of contents or I have like the book, I'm like, oh, I don't think of like reading them in that order and feeling like, whoa, that's like a lot of things, but it feels crazy to hear them.
And the one that people might, no, there's a lot of ones that people might know you for, but people might have already been familiar with the abortion journey.
Yes.
And the posts that have ensued after.
Yes.
A really interesting thing I found in that chapter is that you always grew up thinking it was like the worst thing, abortion.
Yeah. You know, I'm 42. I grew up in like the burbs in like an upper middle class, like, you know, school system or whatever. So it's like
in Maryland.
And I grew up in a fairly like religious place. You know, my family not religious, but others were. So it was like lightly conservative. And it just like was the scare, like because we don't talk about it and because it's presented as this like awful thing that happens, like it looms so large over. Even though I intellectually knew it wasn't a big deal, like I knew, I was like,
right,
yeah, you do like, what, you're like 8 weeks pregnant and you have an abort, like what, how could that be a big deal? But like emotionally and like as, like it just like loomed so large for me. And I think it does or it has for so many people who probably like grew up in the same kind of time frame and circumstances of like, it's just because it's presented as bad and then kind of never talked about. It only gets to be this like big tragedy instead of like anybody ever being like, oh yeah, I had one. It was like kind of not a big deal. Like you're waiting to hear that story and we don't really hear that story very much.
Right. And you talk about how it's like portrayed in media. And this little blurb, you say, giving birth, an actual big thing, was glossed over as a stepping stone on your journey to having a family. In TV shows and movies, abortion was often a quote unquote very special episode, usually about a young girl who finds herself in trouble. It was saved for scary dramas, featured quote unquote bad characters, and was played out as a wildly painful trauma to endure. Which is so I've never thought of like when you see those things and like the character is like, I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then life moved on. It's like, no, like, and then there was prenatal care.
Right.
And then there was many hospital visits.
Yes.
And then there was all of the risks involved, like that pregnancy involves.
Yeah.
And then there's actually the giving birth.
Yes,
and
which
then
is
there's
a like severe medical event when it goes well. Which is not the majority of birth experiences I know, at least from the people I know who have given birth. Like no one's like, oh, it's like a piece of cake. Like even at its best, it is so much of a bigger physical health experience than like abortion is in 99% of cases, which is like crazy to think about that's how it's presented.
Totally. And I think also like you wrote about, it's going to be this thing that's going to follow you the rest of your life. It's going to be like a scarlet letter that's on you. And also like when you decide to do it, you're going to fall to the ground and you're going to cry about it. And it's going to be like this very, very intense emotional thing. And for you, it wasn't.
No, it really was like, and I wasn't like necessarily surprised by that, but I was kind of infuriated that like what I experienced, don't jump up here. That what my cat is next to me. Nope. Okay. That like the experience that I had was like, I was like, oh, clearly this is what like most people, you know, with access or whatever, and who aren't like, you know, torn by like a lot of the things around making a decision about abortion. Like this is what most people are experiencing. And like, not only is it never presented this way in our media, but it's actually only presented in this like really awful, tragic way. Not even like, and also some people are fine. It's like, it's only this. And then you have it and you're like, wait, me and every other person in this waiting room and every other person who, you know, was in my position.
When you were talking about the people in the waiting room, I was like, oh my God. Cause you were like, should we just like all get a drink after this, like in your head or whatever? And I was like, that would be the best start of a show.
Yes.
Like girls who make friends in an abort, you know, like, and it's
a
like,
really good idea.
We got rid of our babies, but we like birthed friendship.
That is a good idea. I may have to, we'll have to talk about this after if we can split it up.
But yeah, that trope makes you think like, oh, I must be like, not even I must be defective in some way, but it kind of like pisses you off because you're like, oh, so you're saying I'm not normal because I didn't have that reaction?
Right. It feels very, it felt very lonely. And then like only really when I started talking about abortion publicly and in comedy and then was doing my show, like then more and more people, even that I knew in real life, like none of, like, I wouldn't say that any of my best friends were like hiding some abortion story from me, but a lot of people on the next level out were like maybe that hadn't come up for us. And it's like, oh, you too? Yeah, it was the same. Like, you're like, oh, like why have we been like but everybody kind of feels this shame about not feeling bad. Cause like, you're like, oh, aren't I supposed to be sad? And you're like, I'm not. Now I'm sad that I'm not sad because I feel like a robot.
Yeah. Another trope that's been pissing me off, and I just saw it like in Tell Me Lies, and then I realized I was like, this is always fucking happening in movies and it's not real, is like one of the teachers goes up to, or do you watch Tell Me Lies?
I don't, but please tell me.
Okay, whatever.
Truth.
A teacher in college goes up to one of the students and she's like, Bree, by the way, we have this exhibition every year for photography and like you're chosen. And I'm like, why is it in every piece of media there's like some exhibition or scholarship or whatever that like the protagonist wins like out of nowhere because somebody's like, I've been clocking you and you are worthy and you're going to be the thing. Whereas I'm like, no, in real life, like you have to like apply. You have to like know about the thing.
Yes. Where it's, it's
you have to like say to yourself, I am the thing.
Yes.
Yeah. You have to like have that like inner either delusion or like confidence or whatever to be like, oh, there's a scholarship and it's going to Paris. Like, I want to do that. And it's like, nope. In the movies, it's like, it's the last day of school. And it's like, by the way, you're going to Paris next year.
So crazy. It's not how anything works. And I understand that, like, you know, narrative television has to be like somewhat compelling, but like, can't you just like at least say that they applied?
You can't have a girl who wants something.
Right.
You can't have a girl who you don't know you're beautiful and that's what makes you beautiful. You don't know you're smart and that's what makes you smart.
Exactly.
But you were talking about how like there are people in your life who hadn't told you their abortion stories necessarily. And if I may, spoiler,
please.
One of them is your mom.
Yes. One was my mom, who didn't even tell me because I was then sharing mine. She shared it kind of on her own in 2019 with me as we were watching like the like Missouri and Texas 6-week bans like try and get passed. This was like before the overturning of Roe, but it was kind of like the rumblings of like, we're going to try and overturn Roe. And these like states were trying to enforce, like, you know, pass and then enforce these like horrific, like basic total abortion bans.
Yeah.
And my mom, who like had an abortion before Roe, was like, people don't know, like your generation, like people don't know
how it was.
What it was like before Roe, even for like my mom, who was like an upper middle class white woman in New Jersey, like where like, thank God they had the access and everything to end up like getting her that care.
Getting it done.
Right.
But it was not in a very nice way.
No, it was not. It was like, and that was the best, either you leave the country or you go to Puerto Rico, I guess was like the main place you go at that time in the 60s. But it was like.
Or you get blindfolded and taken to a location, which is what happened to her. And I'm like thinking about it in today, like.
Imagine.
I'm 36. My dad would never put me blindfolded into a van.
No, but like
that's trafficking.
What's the alternative?
That's when that happens.
Yep.
Right.
Like right. You're asking for like, well, I hope she comes back. Like, I mean, it's truly this like very crazy, and it's like to imagine that was like not that long ago. Like my mom is not even old now. Like she's in her 70s. Like it's not like that was.
Yeah.
And she was, you know, I don't know how old she was exactly, but you know, she was old enough to be needing an abortion, young enough to not want to have a kid. And that was the option, you know, in this generation. So it's crazy. So she was very like, people don't know. And I'm going to tell you something now because I feel compelled to start sharing. And like, then she was like, I'm thinking about writing about it on Facebook. And I was like, don't do that. Like, please don't
not there.
do that.
Although maybe there.
maybe
there are some people there who need to see to feel okay.
I was like, I don't know if you're ready for like what that's going to feel like. And then like, I was like, then I was like, oh, I can, and I had to ask her permission, and she didn't want me to do it at first. And then I was like, you were going to write this on Facebook. And she's like, right. Okay, you're right.
Totally.
No, you're actually, that's like a much better path forward for this story, is for it to be like professionally
also,
told
if
to
they
people.
find it in your book, they're already reading your book.
Exactly, yeah. You're coming to an off-Broadway theater in the West Village. Like,
Yes. You chose. Oh my God. How great is choice?
Yes, it's amazing. We should all have it for everything.
Yeah, her story, I'm like, okay, so I get those stories. When like Dirty Dancing shows abortion is scary and stuff, I'm like, yes, and it was. And those stories are really important. But it would be nice if like the narrative changed in media post Roe and was like, here's some stories where it's like not a big deal.
Yes, right. Where it like, once it was legalized, and, even though it was legal for 50 years or whatever, it wasn't always accessible to everybody. And that's like an important piece to recognize. But once it was accessible to many and legal, like it shocks me how few representations there have been. I mean, not shocks in like a real way, because like we understand the world of the country we live in and how it functions. But like, it shocks me that like in all that time, like I could count on one hand the number of abortion narratives where it wasn't the worst thing that's ever happened to somebody. Like, it's like we've got Obvious Child. There's an episode of Degrassi.
So fun. Which one? Who? Was it Manny?
Manny, I think, has one.
Okay.
But that show is like, first of all, it's Canadian, then it's like a whole other.
But then Liberty like kept the baby, so they were even.
Yes, right. Yeah, they still represented like, it's like, well, you have the baby as a teen.
you could keep it too.
Liberty.
Liberty. One of the other things I love about your abortion story is like it's such like a great like opportunity to brag, because people could be like, what were you doing instead? Were you so busy? And you're like, no, I literally was like on tour with Alana Glazer and then had to get back to write for Maisel.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, yeah, I was busy.
Yeah. I went from tour to like, like a table read to shooting on location in Miami. And like in between those, I had 2 days where I was like, I guess I could do this now.
Yeah.
And it felt like to me, it was like funny to do
It is
that.
funny. It is
funny.
It's iconic, it's funny, and it's also normal and fine.
Yes. But also, if I hadn't had anything going on, I still would have done it. Like
still would have
like,
done it. Yeah.
Of course, like it's like hilariously like, put right in between two like huge professional like moments, and like of course it's gonna happen at the moment where you're like, I don't really have time for this.
Yeah.
But like again, like, I got some like fucked up message on Instagram from some like mommy blogger about something I'd written, and she was just like, I'm so sad that you didn't feel like you could do your job and have a baby. And I'm like, the job is irrelevant. I was never going to have a baby. I don't want one.
Yeah,
and I certainly wasn't going to have that one.
How did you get over like the abortion is bad messaging by that point? Or was it just because you'd already been like living here and working?
Yeah,
and, like,
I mean, I was 35 when I had my abortion.
Yeah.
So like the realities of like what it was. And like, and I had met like some people who had one in the course of my adult life. And also like, I also knew like when I left where I was from, like those people are wrong. And there's a lot that they said that is wrong. And like, I never believe, like I grew up in a very pro-choice, pro-abortion household. Like it was never presented that way in my personal life, but it was in like the education and the pop culture. And also just like, you're growing up, like times are changing. Like I've lived here since 2006. So like
we got to you already.
Yeah, exactly.
We poisoned that brain.
Yes. And like I volunteered as like a Planned Parenthood action person for like many years in my early 20s. So like a lot of like, working with them was obviously like helpful in like unpacking like, I never thought abortion was such a bad thing that I wouldn't do it. I would always do it. But I was scared that it was going to be a scary thing and not just like...
Yeah, it's not scary.
It's not
nice.
scary.
You get snacks.
They give you cookies and ginger ale after. Everybody there is really nice. then you walk out and you're not pregnant anymore. And that's really the best thing that anybody could do for you if you don't want to be.
You're not pregnant, and you wrote this, and I had the same experience. You're not nauseous. You walk in so nauseated.
Insane.
And then you go, oh my God, I feel so much better.
I was so nauseous and having such bad like symptoms of pregnancy, like especially as I got closer, the days leading up, I was like, how does anybody do this? And then like, to know how it's crazy how it's not even like your body needs to like slowly wean off of that stuff. Like you wake up, it's gone. Mm-hmm. Like obviously like the fetus is gone or whatever, but like every symptom that you were feeling.
It's all gone.
It's all gone.
Yeah.
But I was like, our bodies are crazy.
Crazy. Also crazy was, because you were saying you got a lot of fucked up messages after posting it, but I think one of the most fucked up things somebody said to you is the ultrasound lady goes, do you want to know if it's twins? After you're like, I'm here for an abortion. And she's like, would you like to know the gender of your babies? Not actually gender, but.
Because like when I was doing the off-Broadway show about the story and like stand up, we had like a consultant from Planned Parenthood to like kind of like come fact check my memory, which I was like,
sure.
Okay. Like, and she like, cause everybody thought I made that up when I was like doing the show and doing stand up about it. Everybody's like, did that really happen? And I'm like, no, it does. And like, they corroborated, they were like, it's not all like, I don't know if it's like required, but I guess it is a big piece of like, for some reason, people that come from families of multiples, like it changes their like understand, like if they're a twin and they're having twins, like sometimes that like affects their decision, which I'm like, you should let them ask that. You shouldn't be the one asking them. Like it is like but I guess it's like a comment, like the heartbeat and the twins thing is like actually a thing that they're supposed to ask and is a very common question for, at least for Planned Parenthood people. I don't know if that's still true. That was certainly true when I was, but I was like, that's crazy. Like imagine being, twins.
I guess if it was twins, I'd want them to be like, it's twins. And then I could be like, well, if I ever was family planning, like this would be the time to do it.
Right. I think like I think there is some element of that. And I was just like, that's crazy. Don't ask me that. It's none of my business.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day because obviously there's been a lot of political conversation online and like abortion's back in the discourse.
Yeah, it is.
And a lot of people are like, abortion's murder. And I'm like, then you should be more afraid of me.
Yes.
Like if you genuinely believe that, like, then I'm a murderer. And, like, you shouldn't fight with me so much because like you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
I'm bad. But also I was just thinking about it like in respect to like, you can see ICE gunning down people in the street or whatever. Like there's news that like things are happening in the detention centers where like people are losing their lives and stuff. And that camp doesn't seem to care about those lives lost. And like, you're the worst Republicans then. Because if your whole thing is like money and shit, then you don't if it's money, you don't understand return on investment.
Right.
Like these are people who like, they were fed for like 37 years. They were educated.
Right.
He was a nurse. He was super educated.
Yeah.
And like, you're not seeing just from a Republican.
Yeah.
We're so good at finance standpoint.
Economics of investing in people.
If you don't care about his life, think about like all the money that went into that person. And why are you so mad about this person that didn't exist yet versus this one who like we've poured a lot of resources into?
Yeah, it is they're complete hypocrites and there's holes all over every piece of logic that they use to govern their, entire political philosophy. And it's just like so frustrating to be like, why is it so inconsistent? I mean, I know why it is because it's just based in hate, but it's so frustrating to not even be able to point out the inconsistencies.
Right. And then like there are some that I'm like, okay, I think you're just like fucking with me the way that like a flat earther is. Yeah. Like 90% of flat earthers don't believe in flat earth. They just are contrarians and they want to make people angry.
Yes.
So, but you do also have a full chapter about being political.
I do.
And it stems from like you were an actual writer for political shows. The President Show. I loved The President Show.
I mean, RIP, the best job I've ever had. And I've had a lot of really great jobs, but that one was one of the greatest.
I got to see Anthony do it early on, like at like
the Trump
UCB
and Bernie
or
stuff.
something like that.
Yeah. So good.
And he was just so good at it.
I know.
But how do you, because you're talking about how hard it is to be like a political writer because it's just like you're mining terrible stuff for like funny content.
Yeah.
But now you're just a political person or just a person. Like, how do you navigate the world talking about it enough that like you feel like you're doing something and like, not so much that like it's taking over your life.
I'm actually like, before we hopped on, I was writing my Substack newsletter for this week, and it's about this and kind of, or lightly about this, about just like how hard it is to kind of like, mostly the experience of looking at your phone, seeing like promoting a show, video of somebody getting extrajudicially executed on the street, a cute cat video, an impassioned plea for people.
The other
to, like,
angle.
It's like, right. It's like, what is this? Life is really crazy. And of course, that's from a place of complete safety, comfort, and privilege to be able to be like, it's all on my phone and it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And, to be a, upper middle class white woman in like a cushy area of Brooklyn where, I have a job and an apartment and a home and heat and food. Like it is, it's like, of course, this is rife with privilege.
Privilege, yeah.
But like, I'm trying to find the balance between, not between how often I'll speak about stuff, because I am like always down to speak about it, but for how much I can consume.
Sure.
And I think that was like one of the big things, like in the essay where I'm writing about having these political comedy jobs, was like, it wasn't even necessarily trying to write jokes. It was about like how, especially at the opposition, when it was like we had to consume right-wing media to like satirize it, of just like, oh God, there are people that are consuming this for 18 hours a day. They just have Fox News on in the background, or even like people who have more center to left politics and CNN and MSNBC, or where they watch, like, it's still just like, you can't just live in this world. Like, it breaks your brain. Like, you need to not think about, like, even when it's like the correct take on something terrible from people who are informed, it still is like, how many times can I watch that video? How many times can I see footage of what's happening and has been happening in Gaza for so long? Like how much can you take before it either completely desensitizes you or like breaks your brain into like, I think there are examples of people in our worlds where it like has broken them just by like overconsumption of certain things. Cause like our phones, this is not how we're meant to consume what's around us. Like,
yeah, no, I posted the other day about how, remember when Saddam got hanged in 2006? And it was like, you had to really look for that video.
Yeah.
And you had to like want to watch it or whatever. And like, I downloaded it on Kazaa because I was curious.
Yeah, of course. There's a morbid curiosity in all of us.
It was crazy to me. Like, I was like, I can't believe and then when I told other people that I watched it, they were like, oh my God, like, why would you do that? And I was like, I don't know, like all this stuff. And now it's like, we have to, unfortunately, because like, otherwise you don't know if what you're saying is like a lie.
Yes,
and like,
right. If it's real.
The Kristi Noems of the world are lying so much that I'm like, well, I can't just take her word for it. I have to do my own research.
Right. And there's
the flat earthers.
And there's a guilt. Yeah, exactly. and there's a guilt to disengaging, and because of the privilege of it, that like, then I feel like I like kind of forcibly punish myself by watching more than I think feels healthy, because I'm like, well, you can't just sit here in your apartment with your TV and your cat and your natural wines and only watch Housewives. Like, you have to see and deal with this. But like, I think everyone is dealing with like, where is that line of consumption?
It's also when you start consuming it so much, you really notice the people who aren't.
It becomes really clear.
It becomes but it also becomes like a massive issue between you and those people. Like, it does for me, at least.
100%.
Where I'm like, I've worked myself up so much and I'm so upset, and to see you not upset is really upsetting me. Like, I had a friend the other day was like, oh my God, TikTok is serving me a lot of Minneapolis content. And I was like, it's awful. And she goes, it's awful. Like, I don't want to see that shit. And I was like, no.
You can't just put your head in the sand and like live your life. It hadn't been getting served to her, I guess. And I'm like trying to like create space and grace or whatever. And like, it takes me a lot to like take it down from like a 10 where I'm living to like, okay, let me meet you where you are. And like, I had to have a discussion on like, so fascism is, you know, and here. Like, and like, I think that's where I am right now, is like trying to regulate myself around people who don't care and being like, okay, well, this is why you should. It's not like I am mad at you. Right. But it's not going to come out right if it comes out as angry as I am. Right. Yeah, it's an odd time to be living, and it's a time that I'm like grateful to no longer be employed by the kinds of shows and workplaces where like I have to sit around and like sit in this stuff and then like somehow turn it into like what counts as comedy these days. And like nothing against the people who work in late night and political late night, and you know, some people are able to
they're doing a really tough job.
It is a hard creative job to have right now. But I think like, and I talk about this a little bit in that essay of like, I really hated having to funnel jokes through the voices of the faces and voices of straight white men, and like even Anthony playing a satirized Trump and Jordan being the satirical Alex Jonesy Fox News guy. Like, I get that we're like, it's a character and we're creating it, but I'm like, it's still a white man saying a joke, or a straight white man saying a joke, a straight white man with money saying a joke. And like, obviously almost all late night programming is that. And then when I was doing the abortion show, and like, I was like, oh, like finally I get to be like political on my, like, this is the way I want to be political, which is just like existing and like talking about myself.
Talking about your experience.
Yeah, in a way that
your
like
mouth. It's a little weird if Jordan Klepper's like, so when I got an abortion, and you're like, but you didn't.
Right. Like there's just kind of like no way to actually get to like great comedy when you're trying to be like someone like me filtering through someone like the hosts of late night shows to get to an audience where it's like, oh, like having agency and like talking about things. And it's why like I'm so glad so many people who aren't straight white men with money do have like some access to say like telling stories, and
straight white women with money.
Yes, exactly. Like me. The next worst thing.
The next one. Also I learned something recently because I was fighting with someone else about, you know, whatever.
Yeah, fighting.
And they, you know, fighting. And they were like, I don't understand a lot of things. Why did Roe want to overturn Roe? And I was like, huh?
Huh?
Did you hear about this?
No.
I'm going to read you a blurb. Okay. Norma McCorvey, the real-life plaintiff, quote-unquote, Jane Roe, in the landmark 1973 case, did eventually seek to have Roe v. Wade overturned. While she originally filed a lawsuit to secure the right to an abortion in Texas, her personal stance changed dramatically later in life. In 1995, McCorvey underwent a religious conversion and became a vocal anti-abortion activist. In 2003, she filed a motion in federal court in Dallas to have the original Roe v. Wade decision overturned, arguing that new evidence showed abortion was harmful to women. The case was ultimately dismissed in 2005. And then, Deathbed Confession. In the 2020 doc, AKA Jane Roe, filmed shortly before her death in 2017, McCorvey claimed her anti-abortion work was an act and that she had been paid by conservative groups to serve as a figurehead for their cause. Despite her personal advocacy, the Supreme Court did not overturn the ruling until June 24th, 2022, 5 years after her death. Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts. And I feel like I maybe heard, like, knew that she had kind of been on the conservative side of advocacy later in life. I feel like I remember hearing or reading that at some point, but like, not that it was like she was a paid actor and that she didn't believe
it was a ruse.
That's crazy. This country sucks so much.
And they're always saying that we have paid actors, but like every accusation is a confession.
Yep, always. It's always
So one of your other chapters, and I would love to be able to hit all of them, but I can't. So we're only going to do 3 today.
That's fine.
You're like, no, buy my book. Like, read the book. You talk a lot about being raised as an only child. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it seems like so sweet and very nice. Your relationship with your parents sounds so wonderful. And I'm like, maybe just one is the answer.
I always advocate for that for people. If they're like having kids, I'm like, one is good.
But you talk about how it was kind of like you were like a little adult in a group of adults.
Yes. Yeah. I grew up in a family where there were like, I'm an only child and like I have a very, very small family. Like I don't have like a ton of cousins and aunts and uncles. It's like a very tiny, like not like for most of my life, my family was under 10 people, complete extended. I mean, like, I think there's some
your
like
cousin, if you have one, is old.
Yes. Right. 15 years older than me. Like that's like so much of a difference that it's not even like, you know, you can't even really have a relationship in the way that like I think a lot of my friends think of their cousins who they like kind of grew up with and like have a relationship with as like peers. My cousin is so much older than me, and then their kids are so much younger than me that it's like there's no kind of real place for me or for them, either of that. Like we're all kind of a constellation that doesn't quite work. So like I just grew up, there weren't kids until I was the youngest by 15 years until I was in my 20s, and my cousins had their first kid. And it's just like, it is a weird life. And like, it didn't like, I didn't think it was weird growing until I was like not in my house anymore and like really interacting with other people like in college and in my like young adulthood and like, and also now like, you know, being like middle-aged and like watching people have their own families that are in my life or like kind of navigating like dating at this age and kind of being like, oh, this was my like, I don't like, you know, it all feeds into like the fact that I don't want and have never wanted kids. But like, it was this weird, like, I was just like, oh, I'm a tiny adult. I watch adult television. I do adult things. I interact with adults. My parents treat me like, I mean, it wasn't, you know, they treated me like their child and there were like rules.
Yeah, they're nice to you.
Right. But like,
but they treated you like you were a mature person.
Yeah. And that like, and there wasn't the chance. I was outnumbered. So it was like 2 against 1. And like they did plenty of, like, we went to Disney World. Like that's not something they would want to do, the 2 of them. But like, you know, it's like we obviously did stuff that was for me all the time. That's like the spoiled only child thing. But like when we weren't doing those things, I had to do their things. It wasn't like, go play in your room with your sister or brother, go outside with all the other kids, do whatever. It was like, you're with us. Like, so yeah, we're gonna, like, my mom's gonna take me to run errands in a different way than if there were 2 kids and she and one is more manageable, so you can like last longer doing adult stuff with them than if there's 2 who are, or 3 or 4 who are like getting wound up or exhausted or whatever. It was, and I just like it only was in adulthood that I started to realize how strange it was and like learning about other people's childhoods and like what they think of their childhood versus what I think of mine, where I was like, oh, that was weird. It was like a weird way to grow up, and it explains a lot about my personality.
How did they approach like sex talks and that stuff? Like, was it Allison's very mature in this aspect too? We're just going to like lay everything out?
No, I don't remember it being like, it wasn't like, let's pretend nothing happens, but it wasn't like, we've never, like my mother and I don't have that relationship. Like I don't talk about my dating life with my family like ever, because it was like never really discussed. Like they definitely like at the right times, like that other children were learning about kind of like, what is sex and like, what is this? They laid that stuff out in a way that felt like not that different than what a lot of other parents were probably doing. But because I also didn't have like an older sibling to kind of learn some of that stuff from.
I know. I rolled my eyes so hard. You're like, I didn't get to have an older sister. I'm like, me neither. I had to be one.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you're the one who's like doing all the like field testing of what's going on and like asking around with like your friends, like what's happening.
I'm like, I wanted her as well.
Yes.
I would have loved an older sister.
I know. It's like the one version of a sibling.
And we are the biggest bitches in the world.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't actually want one. I'm so happy with how I grew up. But every once in a while, I'm like, oh, I wish I could have had like 2 years of an older sister to kind of like help me learn about all of these things that like you really can't learn from your parents. And, you know, it's helpful.
Especially if like you're the only
older.
one and they're your 2 roommates and they're talking to like you about sex and you're like, oh, my 2 roommates are doing that.
Yeah, it just like, you know, and then like, you know, you get older and you're like, God, I hope they were, because otherwise like, ugh.
Yeah, I really do.
Like genuinely, I'm like, I hope my parents were having sex when I was and still, you know, what, I don't know how they're old. So, but like, you know,
they sound like they have a nice relationship.
They have a
like
very
I love
nice
that they would take their respective like favorite vacations with you solo.
Yes.
Because like, he's like, I don't want to go to the beach. And she's like, I do. Bye.
Yeah. And it's just like, that's the beauty of like, you know, growing up with some money and being an only child is you get to be like, oh, I just get to do everything. But like, yeah, I feel like sex and relationship stuff was like not as much a topic because
were you a masturbating child?
I was, but not until like a little like teens, like not like super early or anything like that. Big masturbating adult.
Oh, sure.
Who isn't?
Do you remember the first time you ever came?
I think so. I think it was like high school, like 15, maybe 16. Like I had kissed some boys, but not like hadn't really done a lot and was just kind of like figuring out based on like some old books about like how to masturbate.
Sure.
And was like home alone and kind of was like, oh, okay, that's something. But then like not really developing the skills to be able to like do that the same what like I think it takes like it's like you do it once by accident. You're like, what did I do? What was I doing?
Totally.
And then like it takes you like many other times of
beginner's luck.
Other stuff to try and figure out like what it was that actually unlocked everything. And then you try and then you're like, well, I was busy thinking of other stuff while I was doing that. And I don't remember exactly what I was doing. And it's the multitasking brain of a woman.
The last time I copied this Cat's Cradle book, I did it perfectly. And now like it's just nuts.
Yeah. Like men don't have to.
It's just nuts.
Like men, it's so different. It's so easy. Like it's like so like what you're supposed to do is so obvious that your brain can go. You can be
it
having.
Is, but there have been some guys on here who are like, and then I learned how to do it with my hand, and I'm like, what were you doing before?
Was before like
like humping stuff or like,
I was gonna say like mounting something,
like
fucking something,
rubbing the floor or something like that.
I see. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we all like those early times. You're just like, I don't know, just throwing shit at the wall, trying to see what sticks.
But did you go to your parents to talk about it, or at that point you were just like, I have friends and we can discuss?
I don't even know that I talked about that. I think that was something that I was like, this is a private thing and we don't talk about this with anyone. I certainly didn't talk about it with my parents. And I don't really think I had like one girlfriend that I think we talked about that kind of stuff, but for the most part, even like masturbation was like not necessarily something that I feel like my high school friends and I talked about. In college, my friends and I talked about it a lot. That's where, because like you're like living in a house with a bunch of girls and like everybody's just like, let's talk about everything. But like in high school, like I think especially just being an only child and feeling like I had super close friendships, especially with my girlfriends. Like I always have. I'm like I love having close friends.
Yeah.
But I think like being an only child and still like you're living in your parents' house and there's so much other stuff that like I don't think like we went super deep on like some sexuality stuff. Like more just like the relational ways that like with the boys that we knew that we were interacting, like talking about like who's dating? Are they having sex? Oh my God, I heard that she took it up the ass meow. But like, I think then when it came to like our own real desires and like I think as a teenager, you often also just don't have the vocabulary.
That was really similar to how I grew up.
Yeah.
It was like,
like we talked about sex related stuff, but I wasn't like, oh my God, I came so hard last night. Do you ever do it lying on your stomach? Like, it's like, you know, that was not, because I didn't know, like, I think like there was still even like a culture of shame around that, like in the, 90s, early 2000s when I would have been in high school. Of just like women masturbating at all. And then like to live in a kind of conservative area where like people were like, I heard so-and-so touches herself. Ah! Like, I think that like colored.
The gross girl.
Yes. Colored obviously the same way.
The gross girl always masturbates.
Yes, always.
And she doeses't shave her legs.
Yes, she doesn't shave her legs and she masturbates. And like now I'm like, am I the gross girl?
I'm like,
those
that's
are
me.
Both things that I like pretty regularly am guilty of. But again, the same way that I was like, oh, abortion's a really big deal. It's like, oh, like masturbation is a thing you shouldn't do. Like, even though 100%. I was doing it and knew that, again, intellectually that's untrue, but the pressures made it this secret or this thing I didn't want to talk about or didn't feel like you were even allowed to talk about, even with your girlfriends. That then college, I was like, woo, we're out. Okay, cool. We can talk about all this
we're
stuff.
out here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's still a lot of shame. And then like sometimes where I'll like shock myself where like I was talking to a friend of mine and he was telling me, he's like, well, like my husband like will jack me like every night. And I was like, what do you mean he jacks you every night? Like I was just like, I was like incredulous. And I was like, I'm the worst sex podcaster in the world. But like there's just some stuff that like will still like shock me.
Sure.
And then I'm like, pull back. And then we were FaceTiming and he's like, ew, Remy, like, are your sex toys just in bed with you?
Yes.
And I was like,
where are your,
yeah, like that's where they live. And he was like, that's disgusting. And I was like, no, it's not. Because like, first of all, these are only like air pulse clit suckers or whatever. I'm like, you realize just this circle touches me.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not
and
like.
I clean it.
And I clean it and I'm not like busting like semen all over it and like whatever.
Yes.
And he was like,
it's different.
Okay, he's like, that's so fair because if there's like a toy in our bed, it's like
covered in cum.
Been lubed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's covered in cum, it's covered in lube
it's
or
been
like
in someone's ass. Like
it's got lube all of inside of it or whatever. And I'm like,
versus just like a small fan buried deep inside of a piece of silicone that like doesn't see the I'm like, I don't know. It's like I clean it off when I use it, but like, you could
like, leave.
You could stay in your
like
bed.
It's cleaner in bed with me.
Yes. Yes.
Than in like a dusty old drawer.
I agree.
Something too that I found very, very interesting is your parents were both married to other people when they met and now are very, very much in love.
Yeah. I mean, they're celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary this coming summer. So it's like
insane.
And like, I think it's just like I write in the book a little bit that I'm like, that was a story that they obviously like kind of kept from me until I was old enough to understand it.
Because it was cheating or because
I think just like they're like, this is before you, like why would we need to like explain that? Like there's no need for them to explain it to me until I'm old enough to understand like, oh yeah, like our lives are long and relationships are not like marriage isn't just like how it's presented on TV. But like I certainly didn't need to know that at like 7. That's like not really relevant, I guess.
Sure.
Like it's not like we're like hearing from their exes or anything like that. And then I was like, oh, but it's such like a great
the exes got married
story.
It's
I mean,
like a whole other thing.
Like Shania Twain and her is that Shania Twain, her best friend?
I don't know actually.
I think it's
they did a swap.
They Shania Twain. I think it's Shania Twain and her best friend. She started sleeping with her best friend's husband, and then they got divorces, and then I think the two other spouses,
the other two bonded over it. So. Yeah, it happens.
I mean, I get it. You have this very strange thing in common.
Yeah, and we all like each other.
Right, we've been hanging out.
Or we did.
Where we used to. Now we don't. Now we like each other, and they like each other, and we all don't like each other. But it was just like, it was such an interesting thing to learn, because I think a lot of people like assume when you're little, you're like, my parents met and fell in love and happily ever after, and and that's how love works, and that's what you should expect and you should want. And it's like, oh, I wonder like what my outlook on love and relationships, and like I've never been married. I've been in very few relationships and have lived most of my life like single and dating and having fun. But I think like, especially like I just like was like, oh, I wish I'd processed that more, to be like, yeah, life is long and you make mistakes. And sometimes like, I think if they hadn't been in those relationships, maybe they wouldn't have been in the exact like location at the same time to end up working together, to meeting each other, that like, it's like how much do you want to blame, fate and the universe?
Charlotte would never have married Harry.
It's true.
Or met Harry if she hadn't already met and married Trey. Yeah.
So it's like, those things are like nice to remember when you're building your concept of what relationships and love are supposed to be in your life. Like, I just think it's so like helpful to actually have a full picture of like what a relationship can look like and see that it's happened. Because I like knew my whole life that my parents were happily married and had a great relationship and they both love and like each other. But it's like, but they got there because there was, something that happened before that like led them into this place where they were able to like know what they wanted and like all of that stuff. And I think like that's I'm glad I got that, like that I understood that when I did, but I'm like, I wish I had processed it earlier, because I think there was some years of my life where I felt like, am I just gonna, I guess I missed the window of meeting somebody because now I'm old, or I think like those feelings and thoughts, like, pop culture like pushes them into your brain, and they're hard to get out of there. But they provide such a nice alternative to that to me. So I'm just like, it's in the book. So I hope they're okay.
You say, no, you say in the book, you're like, I'm not romantic. But then your takeaway from their relationship that I really loved is, I realized that I might have to be with someone who wasn't right before finding someone who was. And I was like, that's like low key, even for people who are very romantic, an amazing outlook.
Yeah.
Because if you are just looking for Mr. Right or Mrs. Right or person right, or you know what I mean? That is so much. It's so hard.
It's so hard.
Difficult. And you're looking for such a specific thing. But if you're looking for like a mistake, you can find so many mistakes.
Yeah.
And then like, you don't like begrudge yourself for being like, ugh, like that was a waste of time and like whatever. It's like, no, this is like leading me to the next person, or like the next thing, or like my next iteration of myself.
It's so true. And like, I had been kind of like not dating for a while in my like recent history, and then have kind of like started again and like been through some like, I don't know what this is, and this feels good, but this doesn't, about like seeing this guy or whatever. And like, I'm like, whatever happens with this one, like, I know it like lit up a lot of stuff in me that is positive that I will take away to the next thing, whether, and like, with like an understanding of like whether this moves forward or doesn't, like, I know some things about me that like hadn't been turned on, but also turned on.
Like I am turned on.
I'm very turned on by what's going on. But like hadn't been kind of like lit up or kind of like excited in a while, where I'm like, I can just like meet a guy in the wild who will like me, and I will like him, and we will go out. And like, it didn't feel like that was going to happen for me again ever. And it's like, and now it has. And if we see each other more, great. And if we don't, great.
It was a nice time.
And it reminded me of some things. And it's like, I think that's like the big takeaway is like, it can just all be like cumulative until like it's wrong until it's right. It's like a no until it's a yes.
Yeah.
It's just like,
and
that's like feels like a healthier way to move through the world than like every person you meet being potentially your soulmate that you need to be with forever, and it has to work.
And then if you fuck it up, you feel very bad about yourself, that you're like, that was my one option. It's like, no, it wasn't.
No,
like you created that in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it reminded me, and I know like you're very comfortable being single and like happy, and I love that, and I think it's healthy and great. But it reminded me I might have to be with someone who wasn't right before finding someone who was. One of my friend's moms is a therapist, and she has famously kept telling all of us, like, you guys, like, just get married. Because the thing is, women who are in like their 30s and beyond, if they're never married, are likely to never get married. Whereas if you marry someone that you don't like there's some psychology, I think, in man brain that goes, well, she's been chosen before, so I could choose her again. I hate everything that this represents and stuff, but it does make you think, okay, let's settle, get a really great prenup.
Sure. Keep your money.
And then if we don't like it, we don't like it.
Yeah, I think it's just like fine to make, I don't know financially if all of that really adds up, because lawyers are expensive, but it is just like, I don't know, do it. And if it doesn't work out, then like, I don't like most of life is not the end of the world. Mm-hmm. And you can just move on and
in a positive way and in a negative way.
Thing. Right.
That like, at the end of a fairy tale, it says, and happily ever after. And you go, but really?
Really?
Because like there's going to be more stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. And people change. Okay. And then the final blurb I will read from your book.
Please.
Before I just tell everybody, go buy it. Pre-order. Just do it. I've never been a third date before sex person. Honestly, I've rarely been a first date before sex person. More often than not, I've been a 2 beer shot combos before sex person. It's not that I haven't taken the idea of sex seriously, but I never put it on a higher pedestal than, will this be fun and relatively safe? If the answer is yes, then sure, why not? Chef's fucking kiss.
I mean,
it's so nice that you're able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't think that like I could say pretty confidently that wasn't my outlook in like high school looking out into adulthood. And like, but once I got to college, I was just like, I don't know, like, isn't it supposed to be fun? Like, isn't that the point? Yeah. And, we were raised on Sex and the City. It started when I was in high school. And I remember being like, I don't know, these gals aren't afraid of it. And they seem like they have their lives together. And just like, yeah, I don't know. Like I think there are other things that should be for me, there are other things I need to protect more than sex. When it comes to like meeting somebody and getting to know them and like sharing things. And, I'm much more of like, I'm like an insane, like I need like an insane amount of alone time. So like the idea of like
me too.
Somebody being in my apartment for a long period of time is like much more intimate and much scarier to me and like will fuck up like my brain and my ability to like interact with this person much more than like if they come over and we have sex for an hour and they leave.
Mm-hmm. And then you can go back to your yelling women.
Yes.
Which is what I call Bravo.
Yes.
I love my yelling women.
I love my screaming bitches.
And they can be there for a little of the yelling women. But ultimately, like, I just want to watch my women yell in peace.
Yeah. I don't need you asking questions or saying you think it's stupid or like.
Unless they love it.
Yes. And I love like, get in here.
Yeah. Then get in here, please.
Please.
Yeah, I do. I love that you are such a smart person who likes Bravo.
Oh, thank you.
It makes me feel it makes me feel really like good and justified because I feel like, and I think this is a misogyny thing.
It is.
Where people would go, it's a guilty pleasure. Don't tell people you watch that trash or whatever. And I'm like, it's anthropology.
It is.
And also,
it is.
It's saving me from fighting with the people in my life because I can watch people fight in their lives.
Yes.
And I can have opinions on them that don't affect my relationships with anyone.
Yes. I find like it like scratches the itch of like drama and excitement instead of needing to create it in my own life just to make it interesting. Like I feel like that's like something that people have done throughout history is like create drama and like get involved in shit. And then it's like, okay, but I could just watch somebody else do it and like that satisfies my experience of it. And then I can just like be nice to my friends. And like, as I write about in the Bravo chapter, like I think there is a lot of like value to like watching other people fight about something that may actually be a parallel to your life in some way.
Yeah.
And being able to like see two sides of an argument, to like have nuanced takes on like what that scenario looks like because you're on the outside of it. And I think it does objectively help navigate real relationships. Like I think that is,
I do too.
I think that is provably true.
I do too. And you know what I think about too is like, so Todd and Bronwyn are now splitting up.
Yes.
I think a lot of housewives, either they're inspired once they're on the show to split up with their partner, or they go on the show with the intention of splitting up with their partner because they're like, I know that once an audience sees how you interact with me, they're going to push like for you. Me to leave you so much. And I think a lot of women who do that, it's very smart because they're going to become a public figure. They're going to start making their own money, where like a lot of women in those situations normally can't.
Yeah.
They're going to have like the support of the, internet, which like they don't know those people, but sometimes it's really, really helpful. And what I started thinking about is like whenever like Ben and I are like having a fight or whatever, or like he speaks to me in some way, I'm like, if this was on TV, would I stand for that? Like it
would
makes
you tolerate this happening to somebody else?
Yeah. Or like, would I tolerate my reaction if I was on this? So it's very like, yes, we're watching other people, but like I feel like we're learning about ourselves too.
I 100% think so. I think it is a valuable piece of our culture, and I think that when people dismiss it as like just being rich ladies throwing wine, it's like, okay, well, one, why would that be a bad thing? And two, it's great. It's really entertaining. And two, like that's just not true. I think it's like a place of community. I think it's a place of like emotional learning. I think it's also been a site of like real social discussions. Like it's not always great. They're not always doing it right, but like people on Bravo are willing to have uncomfortable conversations that I think a lot of people on a lot of more prestigious like news, reality, like any other like aren't capable of having. There's like an earnestness to a lot of the people on Bravo where it's like, yes, it's really produced, but like there are real conversations happening there that are of deep social value.
Totally. All right. I've kept you over. This has been so much fun.
Could have done this all day.
I would. But I do have to ask two things before we go.
Please.
One, do you have any sexual goals for this upcoming year?
Oh, I mean, I think I would like to be having more sex. I think that's like, as someone who is single and like dates and meets people, like I think like I don't know if I want like a serious relationship. I do think I want something that feels more consistent to just feel, I think there's like something in feeling wanted and desired that comes from like consistent sex, and also then like a comfort that then allows you to access like other parts of your sexuality that like if it's kind of constantly like new different people that you're still getting to know, that's not always there. So like consistency.
Yeah. Also, I don't know about you, but I used to have a real tough time seeing a new person naked. Like I would just be like, like it looks like that. And like eventually I become okay with it, but I'm like, I can't keep doing this.
It's always weird. It's never it's never
and
just
nice,
like,
but it's like,
it's great.
Like literally, yeah. I one time was like, I don't even want to look at it because I don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
And I didn't, and I never saw it, and I never will. But do you feel at least like horny and happy enough to like masturbate and get it done solo?
Oh,
okay, great.
That's happening all the time. It's more like sex with someone else that I would like to see more consistency with.
Some skin on skin.
Yeah, sex with me by myself is probably the most consistent thing in my life. Like that's where the stability exists at this point. Everything else is absolute chaos, but like that is reliably
that's the constant.
It's the one constant that's like keeping my life kind of like humming at a normal vibration, if I could say.
Yes, it's the perfect thing to say. Allison, it has been so wonderful having you on. And again, I highly recommend the book to everyone. Where can everybody find the book and find you online?
On Instagram at Alison Leiby, ALISONLEIBY. And then like loosely on like Threads and Blue Sky too, but I don't know how either of those work, so I don't really use them. But I have the link to pre-order the book in my Instagram bio.
I'll put it down below.
But wherever you want to buy your books, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I would love if you would buy it from the publisher or directly from an independent bookstore. You can pre-order it now. It'll be in your hands on July 7th.
I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you better fucking do it this way. I swear.
Do it the way I want you to do it. No, if you want to, if you want to get it from the library, if you want to listen to the audiobook, if you buy things from Amazon, if you buy things from Walmart, I don't care. I just need you to buy it or read it.
Okay.
And leave a nice review whenever you get it. But it comes out July 7th, so there's still like a bunch of time between now and then, sadly. Okay. But it'll go fast in a scary way, I'm sure.
Yes. This podcast has gone so fast in a scary way.
Yes.
And I'm so sad that it's over. But you guys follow Allison, follow me at Remy Casimir, follow the podcast at How Come Podcast. If you want to watch this episode with video, patreon.com/howcome. And I have to ask you one more question,
Please.
which I have to ask everybody after a sexual experience. Alison Leiby, did you finish?
Oh, absolutely. This was
okay. Great.
Yeah. Multiples, I would say.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming. I finished too. And you guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time on How Come. Bye.
Bye.
It's not you, it's me. I try so hard to finish honestly. They say you'll know when you go all the way from A right down to O. Oh no, I think that I still got a ways to go. Oh, I'm sick of this and I have got to know. How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help, 'cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
Okay, so the Shania Twain story wasn't exactly accurate, but okay, I'll just read it. Shania Twain was married to producer Robert Mutt Lang from 1993 to 2010, divorcing after he had an affair with her close friend, Mary Ann Theobald. In 2011, Twain married Frederique Theobald, the ex-husband of the woman with whom her first husband had an affair, a union she described as beautifully twisted. Apparently, after their first affair, she was left brokenhearted and uncomfortably fragile. She doesn't even really talk to her ex except for texting. But she did find love with his mistress, his ex-husband. And the mistress used to be her best friend. Anyway, Shania Twain has now described Theobald, her current husband, as the greatest man on the planet and a vital source of strength during her heartbreak. Okay, that's good.